Hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this is my review for the Blon BL Mini. And for me, this is the strangest shape from any IM I've ever seen. This is literally looks like macaroni, and I don't know how did they get this kind of shape idea. It's just really strange, but strangely and ironically, it fits really well in my ears. Okay, just like usual, I will review them from the build, fit, frequency response, sound, and comparison. Let's start from the build quality, and actually this IM is quite well made and feels quite good in my ears. The overall housing is made from metal and it just feels quite durable, and you get this convincing weight on it. It feels actually like the Blon BL03. If you are already familiar with the housing, it just looks like made with the same material, but it's more sleek in design, and also the nozzle is like this. It also feels good with a metallic mesh on it as its filter. And the main thing that I like better the Blon Mini compared to the Blon BL03 is the connector is now feels much more secured, and also the cable is more, I don't know, it just feels more high quality for me because my BL03 is already hardened, the cable is already hardened, and this one, the BL Mini, it feels more flexible and smoother. So yeah, I think the build quality is simply better than the BL03. Okay, when it comes to fitting, for me this is the best Blon fitting that I've ever tried, and actually it is one of the best fitting IM that I've ever tried, even though it looks like this, and honestly it doesn't look that convincing at my first impression for them. But when I tried them and I'm using them for hours, even at commute or go out, I feel that they are really secured in my ears perfectly. I don't really feel them in my ears when I'm using them, and also they are very stable around my ears. So yes, surprisingly it fits really well with my ears, but again, people have different ears. It might not suit you, but it suits me really well. Okay, and then let's talk about the frequency response. So for the Blon Mini frequency response, I could simply say that it is a V-shaped sounding IM. As you can see in this response, the bass and upper mid, also the treble part, is the main emphasis of this frequency response. Please note that this peak is only a coupler resonance, so yeah, it's just V-shaped-ish, and after 6K it's a little bit dropped. And how is it compared to the famous Blon BL03? The BL03 have better thickness in the vocal around the 2K. It has more raise around this part, and also there's, after that, it's treble rolled off. Yeah, so for me the Blon BL03 is the smoother, the thicker one of the two, and yeah, I like the Blon BL03 still better actually, based on the frequency response alone. And this is how is it compared to the KZ EDX. Yeah, the EDX is more V-shaped, it's more contrast, the bass and also the upper frequencies. And this is how is it compared to the TRN MT1. The TRN MT1, I should say that they are both V-shaped-ish, but I have to say that it's not as forward sounding in the treble area as the Blon Mini. The TRN MT1 is more focused in the upper mid-range area, around this area, and after that there's a treble roll off, while the Blon Mini is still going high in the treble section. So yeah, the MT1 is more forward in upper mid-range, is more peaky in upper mid-range, but the Blon Mini is more peaky in the treble area. So yeah, simply it's a V-shaped sounding IM. So I use my QLux 5K and i5 DXD, also my iBasso DX160 as my source, and I also using my phone, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, for this IM. And for me, they are quite easy to drive, but not as easy as BL03. I think it's a little bit harder to drive this BLO Mini, but that's only a minor issue. And let's talk about the tonality of this IM. It simply can be categorized as smooth V-shape. It's still V-shape in a frequency response, yes, but from what I hear, it still has this kind of smoothness going on, just like the one that I feel in BLO3, but less smoother than the BLO3. But it's still V-shaped, yet smooth. I hope you can understand. This IM, it's still quite smooth, but I can't help but feel there are some caveats that I hear from the V-shaped-ish IM, such as the scoop down lower mid compared to its upper mid range, that's making the vocal of the female sounds more forward compared to the male vocals. And it's happening here also when I'm hearing Justin Bieber or Ed Sheeran. It's not as thick as it should be. It sounds a bit thinner and could get a bit shouty at times. Yet it's not as bad as some IMs that I found at this price range. And the lower mid-range is not full enough for vocalists like the Il Divo or Josh Groban. It definitely cannot give them justice. And talking about the other parts about this IM is the bass and treble. I could say that they are a little bit, you know, it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. The bass is actually punchy and quite fast, but it doesn't really go deep and doesn't really give this convincing weight on it, yet it's still punchy. And the treble, it's not really extended, but you can still hear the lower treble splash, cymbal crash like that. You can hear them, but it's not really extended for violins or complex music like orchestral music. It's not, so it's a bit of an oddball. It's like sitting in the middle of things. It's V-shaped but not too V-shaped. It's quite smooth but not as smooth as the BLO3 either. So yeah, it's like sitting in the middle of everything. Maybe you could say that they're a bit all-rounder-ish. And when it comes to technicality, I should say that they are not really good. The soundstage is small. I don't really hear any depth or really width soundstage at this IM. No, it's just like a very small ball, and I don't really get a lot of imaging and separation from this IM. Okay, so when it comes to comparison, I will definitely compare them with their very well-known product, the BLO3. And for me, I have tried and I have reviewed the BLO1, BLO5, and for my personal experience and for my personal judgment, the BLO3 still stands as the most spatial blonde that I've ever tried. It has this kind of smoothness going on from them and this natural timbre that coming from the BLO3, even though they are the first generation. The next generation, the BLO1 or the BLO5, they are arguably more detailed and faster, but they are losing this smoothness and this naturalness from the BLO3 that I come to love. So yeah, I think in the technical department, the BLO1 or BLO5 is better than the BLO3, but it's less natural, thus making them not really special for me. Because if I want to try more detail, I could go somewhere else. And this Blon Mini, actually again, it sits among them as the middle child, I think. It's not as natural as this BLO3 for me, but not as detailed as the BLO1. For me, BLO1, I like that better than the BLO5, and not as separated as the BLO1 especially. So it's not as V-shaped as the BLO5 too. For me, BLO5 is the shoutiest of the bunch. So yeah, again, I find this BLO Mini actually sitting in an awkward position between its brothers. But the main selling point for this Blon Mini, or the thing that I like the most from this BLO Mini, is actually how they perform, how they sit in my ear perfectly. The fitting is simply the best of them all, but it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't really justify the price or why you should buy this BLO Mini, except you're really looking for something unique and maybe you're looking for a good fitting. Okay, I think that's all for me. It's not really recommended for my ears when it comes to sound department. I hope you like this review, and if you have any question, please write down in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye-bye.